This is empty.
Space Arena.
Grand Arena.
SAGA Podcast.
And welcome back to the SAGA Space Arena, Ground Arena podcast, where we cover Star Wars Unlimited from the ground up into space. I am Mr. Ben, and we have the whole crew assembled. Dan, how are we doing?
We're doing great. I'm still awake. We have 3 hours and 29 minutes until the midnight release I'm going to, and somehow I'm going to stay up to be there. Maybe. We'll see.
I am definitely too old to stay up till midnight, but
you know what?
how are you doing, Josh?
Once.
I'm good. I am not going to a midnight pre-release event tonight, but
Lame.
happy to be here to have our whole smugglers crew together, whatever, the whole Saga squad together for the first time in an unlimited amount of time, it seems. So, yeah.
Plagued by technical and scheduling difficulties, and at least once illness.
And
it's been a
power
rough start
outages.
to the year.
Yeah.
But now we're all here. Do we want to? What have we been playing, Josh? What have you been playing?
A lot of Star Wars Unlimited. That's it on the tabletop front. Been playing Helldivers 2 on PS5, which is a lot of fun. Spreading Managed Democracy, and then also they announced the Elden Ring DLC. So the other night I booted up a new playthrough of Elden Ring, and I'm like, 2 hours into that. So, but a lot of Star Wars Unlimited for me.
Dan, what you been up to?
Also Unlimited, we've been doing our weekly demo nights, so that's been going pretty well. I just found out that there's going to end up being 5 to 6 pre-releases in Albuquerque. I will only be going to 2 because I cannot be gone the entire weekend, but 2 is enough. But 5 stores to 6 stores are going to host. One was still questioning whether their kits would come in when I talked to them yesterday, but I didn't check in today. So a lot of that. And then for the holidays, one of my brothers gifted me a subscription to Board Game Arena, which is like a website you can play digital implementations of board games on. I've never used it before.
So good.
And I really like the game Ark Nova, but it's like a 4-hour game that my wife doesn't really like to play for 4 hours. So I can find other nerds on the internet that will play like by turns, where you take like one turn a day. So I have like 50 games of Ark Nova on my computer screen over here. I'm not going to look at them during the podcast, but they're beeping at me right now. So a lot of Ark Nova. What about you?
Board Game Arena is fantastic. I always have probably 50 or 60 various games going on there, for sure. I have printed off a pretty ridiculous number of Star Wars Unlimited proxy decks at this point. Like, I got real sick of those demo decks. And I finally decided, now that we have all the cards, I can actually build decks that are realistic to the game. So we've got a bunch of those flying around the house. And here on the very last day that DC Dual Force is going to be a thing, I have a fully foiled collection of all cards that were released for that game. I was telling my wife about this, and she's like, "You're not even going to be able to play those after today?" And I'm like, "Nope, but I got them."
Take a picture.
Yeah, so that's my achievement for the month of February, I guess.
Nice. I commend your commitment to the dying game, DC Dual Force. So
yeah,
I
beat it in every way possible. Yeah. Okay, so to go from a game that is deader than dead and disappearing forever, let's dive into a game that is being born into the world in 3 hours and 20 minutes, like Dan said. Release for Star Wars Unlimited. So let's pretend a world where I don't know what pre-release means. I have no idea what a TCG experience is going to be like in this. Dan, can you give me some, like, a cliff notes of what somebody should expect going into a pre-release event?
Yeah, so pre-release events are pretty fun. A lot of people don't know the game yet. They don't know the cards yet. It's the first time people are seeing the cards, so that can be pretty exciting. Some games, and I think they said Star Wars Unlimited is going to do this, they're going to do a pre-release for every set. So a pre-release is a chance to see the newest cards earlier than they're for sale. So You're going to get the chance to open some booster packs and make a deck and play against other players with the same limited restriction on cards and really get the chance to build your community, make some friends that also play the game in your city, and form a little play group that likes to enjoy the game together. So that's my favorite thing about pre-releases. Meeting a bunch of people, seeing them all crack their packs together can be super fun. Any other pre-release memories here?
So speaking of cracking packs, I suppose we should specify it's sealed, not draft.
Yep.
Which should take one of those extra elements. I know draft has kind of an extra layer of stress and pressure when everybody around the table is waiting for you to pass that pack. That's not the kind of experience you're going to find at a pre-release. You're going to open your cards, you build out of your cards, nobody's waiting on you to pass them around.
And as a preview, my store gave me these to show people. In your pre-release pack, you're going to get this little piece of paper that is probably backwards on my camera, but it's a Star Wars Unlimited Building Your Pre-Release Deck Guide. It'll give you some tips and tricks on building your deck, and you get a little quick start rules. So you could learn the rules from listening to our show or one of the various content creators out there, but you're going to get all the things you need to learn your game at midnight when you're barely able to function cognitively. So it's perfect.
This is where the fun begins.
What else
So,
comes
Banana,
in that?
What time is your pre-release? Sorry.
Noon Saturday. And then 5. What I was going to ask is, Dan, what else comes in that pre-release?
So what else comes in that pre-release kit is a little promo pack that has alternative art foil versions of Luke and Vader from the starter set that you'll be able to buy next week. 6 booster packs, so that's going to have 6 leaders in it, at least 6 bases, and what you're going to construct your deck out of. So you're going to have about 8 leaders. You might get a duplicate that you have to pick from for your deck. It comes with a... What else did they show me here that I can show? This little thing of cardboard tokens that are beautiful that will go in the trash as soon as you buy better ones. So that's cool. And a deck box that is currently empty. So this is just a cardboard deck box to hold your deck in for the pre-release event. I would recommend getting a better deck box than this because your cards will get damaged in this.
So one thing I want to ask quick, because in the 2-player starter set, that had 2 deck boxes, right? And it was kind of like, I imagine it's just, these were flat. They kind of, you didn't have to assemble them. They kind of just popped into place when you opened them.
This was opened. It was in the little kit like this.
Okay.
And it's got a little spider in here. There's some cool art on it.
Is it big enough to hold sleeved cards? Because
let me find a sleeve deck of cards in my office. Here we go. Not that I have a bunch of deck boxes everywhere. This is ridiculous. This is a triple sleeved deck. Let's see. The ultimate test. I'm going to pop this deck box in half trying to fit these in here. It will not fit a 60-card triple-sleeved deck. That is news for everyone here. Alert, how many cards didn't fit. It did fit a 50-card triple-sleeved deck. So that is amazing, team.
Okay.
Did it.
Yeah. I was going to say, because like the Darth Vader starter box, I have it sleeved with the Vader
sleeves.
Just the Vader sleeves, right? And it fits. Most cardboard deck boxes I've seen that are given out are just like the Versus system sized cigarette packs, and you can't fit sleeve cards in them.
Oh,
so
no, this is like definitely a sleeve card
nice
box.
touch. Yeah.
Your triple sleeves might be a little bit too much if you're that over the top like me. But
it's a lot of sleeves.
Sleeving is very fun. It's a hobby in itself. Whoever produces plastics, I keep them in business. That was a fun demo. Yeah, 60 cards fit right in there, and I left one in there. That was convenient.
Hey, how about that? You got room
deck won't be completed.
You got room for the main deck and the sideboard. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. If you're running like single sleeves or double sleeves, you probably got room for both. And the deck building guides, I read through it. It's really good, right? It tells you, hey, you're going to have to pick a leader. It tells you how you're going to combine the leader and base to get your aspect colors. It says you're going to make a 30-card deck to go along with your leader. They suggest including cards that are just in your colors if you can, because then you're not going to have to pay that aspect penalty, which makes sense. They give us some guidelines for building a deck. So they say include 20 to 25 units in your 30-plus cards. You could just include all your cards. Probably not a good idea. You should aim for 15 to 20 ground units and 5 to 10 space units, and then 5 to 10 events and upgrades to fill out your deck. You should run a smaller number of high-cost cards, something we've talked about before, and more low-cost cards. They recommend 6 to 8 cards of cost 2 and less, and ask other players for advice because people will be friendly and happy to join the community. There's no, at least as far as our store said, there's no big prize pool or anything, but each store, I believe, for each 16 pre-list packs they were given was given one booster box to use as prize support. So what our store is going to do is they're just going to take how many ever boosters they have and divide it by the number of players, and everybody gets a few more at the end of the night. So that'll be, there's no reason to like try to dominate your pre-release, at least at our event. It's more of a like have fun with some people and try the new game together, which is big fan. Good job, Duke City Games. There, I called them out. Hopefully they don't get in trouble for showing me the insides early.
I'll allow it. So you could.
It wasn't actually them, so it's okay. I can't reveal my secrets.
You just called out some random name store. It's not even a real store.
No, that's another one that I'm going to a pre-release at. Don't worry. I spend lots of money there. They can't be too mad. All right,
Good job.
Pre-release. I'm jazzed. Let's keep going. Keep the hype train going. 3 hours and 8 minutes. We're counting down.
I want pictures of your packs as you're opening them.
Can do.
We'll create a separate channel in the Discord just for Kennedy's Midnight Sealed Pools.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll be too excited. I'll be
definitely will not be awake.
I'll at you. Yeah, at everyone on the Saga Discord. Guess what?
Yeah.
I'm awake and playing Star Wars Unlimited. I want you to see the cruddy stuff I pulled.
Well, and on like Mountain Time, no less.
Yeah, I was really hoping that they would do 10 p.m., which is midnight Eastern, but they did not do that this time, which is unfortunate.
I did read on one of the Discord somewhere that somebody's store is doing that. They're going off at midnight Eastern, and they're opening up at like 9
When I
p.m.
was a youth, I used to wait at midnight for the new Smash Bros. Release, or like new like Zelda every time it came out. And the GameStop in Wisconsin would go off midnight Eastern time, and that was really nice for me as a high schooler, middle schooler who was making his parents like wait in the car. So, yeah. My parents appreciated it, at least.
I am bringing my my youngest to the pre-release tomorrow, and I think if it was a midnight release, that would, especially on a school night, like what you're talking about doing, I don't think that would fly with the other half of our administrative body here in the household.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. My students might be having an exam tomorrow, so that I don't have to write things on the board in the morning, and that's fine.
Fair enough.
Conveniently planned on a certain day.
Yeah. Smart.
So I was talking to my kid today. This is going to be, he has done a pre-release sealed event for a TCG before, but it was in literally the before times. So he's 12 now. So it was almost like it happened to somebody else. It was so long ago and, before COVID. So I was trying to talk to him today about like, what do we need to think about? What are things that and he seemed really worried about the idea of making a deck that was going to in some way be like a magnet for mockery of some kind. And I feel pretty confident in saying there's probably a lot of people who maybe don't already know the guys at the people, I should say, at the game store, don't already have those established relationships. And there is a little bit of an intimidation factor there where it's like, well, what if I go in and I make a dumb mistake? Here's the thing. You probably will. Mm-hmm. We probably all will, because these cards are new to everybody. And that's the thing, is that it's okay to make those mistakes. So not only should you give yourself permission for it, you should give permission to the guy next to you to maybe flub something up. And like, it's cool. We're all here to have a good time and to learn a new thing and explore this galaxy from a long time ago, far, far, far away, and do that together. So, that was something I was talking to my kid about, and I think it's a message that can kind of resonate, because there are going to be a lot of people who like Star Wars but maybe don't know about the TCG space, and there's a lot of moving parts to this. So, like, my message would just be like, come on down. It's going to be a great time. Like, don't be intimidated. It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, usually the stores get rid of people that have that attitude of make fun of someone for making mistakes, and at least our stores do, and I appreciate that. So, even if it's me,
mine too.
They'll throw me out.
Yeah, I think just in general, I know it's intimidating. You don't know people. It's a new environment, but don't be afraid to jump in there. Like everyone there is a nerd, right? So just come on in, right? Like, join the fun. Always
They're
happy
close
to
enough
have
friends with a nerd that they were willing to come along, Yeah.
I mean, everyone there should want to see the community grow and be excited for new people to show up. If you're not, then
get out of here.
Yeah. Go play Magic.
Well, I mean, I don't want the toxic people in the Magic community either. Sometimes I play that game. Go play something else. I don't know. X-Wing miniatures. I don't play that. You can go play that game.
Approved. They got a lot of them already. It's okay. I have no idea. All right.
Well,
What are
I
our
think I know
topics
like
for
3
today?
people who've ever played that. All right. So do we have any other pre-release ideas or comments that we wanted to hit before we moved on
I do think
to the game?
we'll probably have a Discord channel or we'll make one right after the show so people can post pictures from their pre-release events because that would be super cool. Get a big collection of community pre-release pictures.
Yes.
So if you have a funny story from your pre-release or something that happened that was cool, post a picture of it in the pre-release channel and we'll like talk about it on the next couple shows.
And your
Cool.
sweet polls. I love seeing pictures of cool looking cards. So let me see all of them.
Make me jealous.
All the hyperfoils. Show me the hyperfoils.
I don't know if you guys have been looking at eBay for some of those singles prices. They are crazy.
But I mean
Yeah,
that's
they
the
have to.
factor. Yeah. We'll see.
Okay. So let's move on to maybe the meat of the show, and that is a tier list game that has been set up for us.
Oh yeah.
Now, I do want to specify, when we went into this, we were looking at the constructed meta and not necessarily the sealed meta, even though we were just talking about the pre-release event. So we're kind of shifting gears into, once we get all of our packs, what do we think the leader tier list is going to look like?
Okay. We're gonna attempt to share my screen and see how it goes.
It doesn't work.
We haven't had any problems yet.
Well, I just got to say, if it doesn't work,
this party's over.
Can everybody see a screen? That's good news.
It looks good.
This is good news. All
Got
right.
it.
So
I see it.
this is going to be a fun mini game, and we're going to see who's the winner at the end. So myself, Kennedy, Banana, and Mr. Ben have all made our own competitive tier lists and not revealed them to each other before this show.
unless we cheated.
Unless we cheated, and then we will shame that person and then get kicked out of the store. No. Unless we're one of those scummy cutting players. So the way this game works is we'll start with Banana and then go Mr. Ben and then me, and we'll rotate through the three of us. On your turn, you can place one of these lovely characters into a tier. Like we could put this character up here at the S tier. Or you can bump a character down or up one tier that's already on the board. And you have to give a reason why you're placing them in this tier or why you're moving them up or down. And the goal is once the last character is placed, we each get one more turn moving things up and down. And then we'll score this team-built community tier list and see if it brings us to tiers because we're so far away from our personal tier list, or if we feel like we had a good community build together. The only rule is that there's no, it's the rule of two. If I put Han in B, someone can't immediately move him, and we can't just play the game of bouncing someone back and forth, because that's no fun and not entertaining, and I like things that are entertaining. So, we'll let Banana take it away with the first tiers placement.
What? I feel like this is a lot of pressure, and I'm not prepared for this.
There's some strategy, like, I know you love Cad Bane, so if Cad Bane was a leader, and I knew you wanted him in S, I might put him in S in my personal list, but then throw him on D, because you're going to waste 5 turns, putting things up there.
All right.
Not
First
that the
one.
goal
Whoa.
is to win or anything. Whoa.
First one.
I did not even consider that degree strategy. When I approach
See,
this
we've done
at
this
all.
a couple times, and people get really into it eventually. We'll get better at it.
Holy smokes.
All right. My first one I'm going to do, let's put, let's go Grand Inquisitor B tier.
Grand Inquisitor B tier. Why do you think he's a B? Come on.
Why do I think he's a B? Well, first of all, he's bald.
Yup.
So I personally really like Grand Inquisitor. I really enjoy his playstyle.
That logic, it's S tier.
Yeah, it's great. He's a lot of fun, but I think he is a little held back. He doesn't have all the units he needs to really take advantage of his ability yet. Like there's the good units like Fifth Brother and Seventh Sister that he can really leverage, but other than that, he's got limited options. So I really like him as a leader, but I think he's just a little held back by the limited card pool, so that's why I can't put him any higher. But I personally really enjoy playing Grand Inquisitor.
That's fair. All right. We'll go to Mr. Ben next. Sorry, your cameras are over here, but the tier list is over here, so.
I will put I will put Admiral Thrawn in S tier. So it may very well end up being the case that I am not a good enough player to pilot this guy optimally, because I think the real value of this character is his passive ability to look at the top card of both decks every turn and be able to plan that extra bit ahead. I think in the hands of the most skilled players, that resource of knowledge will ultimately prove to be more valuable than basically any other text on any other leader in the game. I think this guy is, but maybe not at first, because aggro tends to be the most powerful at the beginning of most metas in card games. But I think by the end, the consensus is going to be that Thrawn, in the hands of a skilled player, is the most deadly thing you can do in Star Wars Unlimited in the first set meta.
Yeah. Well, it would take a robotic player to do that. So I'm going to take Mr. IG88 here and put him in the C tier. Because he is not as calculated and robotic as Grand Admiral Thrawn. I think his leader side health is just too low. When he flips, I anticipate he's just going to get knocked out real fast, unless you have a lot of Sentinels and a lot of like event protection on him somehow. And his passive ability is just too conditional to be super useful. But I do think the passive ability on his flipped or deployed leader side is really, really strong. So if you can get him out and you can protect him, he's slightly above D tier, but he's at the bottom of the barrel for me. All right, we'll jump to Banana.
All right, so let's go with Darth Vader, and I'm gonna say he's A tier. Darth Vader A tier. So Darth Vader, one of the starter deck characters, has a very interesting ability where he can ping a unit and a base. And then when he deploys, he is a boss monster that's dealing like 7 damage every turn. So he can fit in a more mid-range controls, mid-range deck style, or I found him to be very good in a control style deck. So I just think he's got some versatility, and he's just a very strong leader overall. So A tier.
All right, Mr. Ben.
I will put Jyn Erso in D tier. Her power is just not good enough. Like, I get the idea that putting -1 on defenders is supposed to let you get value trades in places where you shouldn't, and there certainly are going to be game states, board states that that works out for you, but -1 just is not a big enough number. I have not seen her do anything other than like die slowly, so I put her in dumpster tier.
Fair. I'm going to do a move. I'm going to move Vader up 1 tier. I think Vader has really strong decks in all aspect colors that you can mix with him. Beyond just control, he can be really good in an aggro deck. He can be really good in a cunning deck where you're bouncing things off the field and then using Vader to remove the rest of things. And I've just found Vader to be super oppressive in the games I've played with him and the games I've played against him. So I think that by the time the set 1 meta like settles out, Vader is going to be up there in the S tier. Because he's viable in like every color, no matter what cards you pick up or cards you unpack or what the counter is in your local meta, Vader's going to be real strong. All right, Banana.
I'm gonna go Hera to C tier. Hera has her ability, right, where you can kind of break deck building to include any card that has the Spectre trait, which looks awesome. But she doesn't really do much else for you. Her ability to give unique units experience tokens is okay, but playing her, she's way too fair. It's way too fair of a deck. She's a mid-range deck that fails to do good mid-range things most of the time. Normally, if you hit your Spectre units on curve, it's a lot of fun to have them all on the table at the same time, but it's not. It's a great casual deck that I think can get people into the game, but I don't think Hera is a competitive leader. So C tier.
Well, we see what you did, so we'll pass it to Mr. Ben.
Do you have all these puns prepared, man? You're on fire tonight.
No, it's just the caffeine. The caffeine.
He's
Fair.
all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
I will take Palpatine and I will put him in A tier. This is a solid control character that has access to a bunch of like disgusting, annoying things. His flip ability by itself, stealing somebody's thing, stealing whatever their best thing is just such a crushing blow that leaves people in tears. Like, I don't think he's as strong a control character as Thrawn, but for the people who like that long game and like disrupting and crushing dreams, they did a good job with Palpatine. I think he's going to be a strong competitor in the meta.
Okay. I'm having to reference my list to remember where I put people. I'm going to put Chewbacca up here in A tier. I think he's the bottom of the A tier, but I think he's a step above the Inquisitor. He'd be like an A minus, a B plus, because he's definitely weaker than Palpatine. But if you can get Chewbacca to deploy and have that 9 health Sentinel sitting out there, he more or less gives you an extra turn or two in the game. And none of the other leaders can really do that. They all could just be either bypassed or ignored or wiped out real fast. But Chewbacca really demands a response as soon as he comes out, or he's just going to give you enough extra time to hopefully get a win. So I like Chewie. I've liked his deck a lot. We'll pass it to Banana.
I'm going to move Thrawn down a tier.
How dare you?
Yeah, he's so... I think Thrawn's ability is disgusting, but I think he's just too slow right now. I just think he's too slow for set 1. Maybe set 2, set 3, he might open up a little more, but I think currently he's just too slow.
Do you think it's because of the aspect he comes with, or do you think it's because of the card pool that exists in set 1 that keeps him that way?
I think for one, as a control leader, you want him to deploy late, but I think he deploys too late. And then the Chimera is not a very good ship either. I don't think so. I just think it's the whole. I think maybe if he was a different color, that might open up some better things. But
yeah. I got no puns there. We'll go to Mr. Men.
Well,
I'm holding them back now.
I suppose I should say I'm blue, right? That would be. I'm aghast at that take, Banana. Okay, but I am going to use my turn to move Chewie down because he is definitely B plus, not B plus A minus.
Harsh. Don't like my Chewie. That's okay.
I mean, I agree that he's the top of B tier. Like, I agree with that.
You know what? We're gonna move him just for that. I feel better now. I can leave him there
Fair.
now that you did that. All right. Let's look at some of the characters I really dislike. I'm gonna put Chirrut down here in D tier. I just don't see his ability winning games or saving games. It's a cool ability to be able to last when you get deployed and not get blown off the board. But most good players will only deploy their leader when it's safe to at least get one activation out of them. And if you're only getting one activation out of Chirrut, then he's no better than any other leader that gets wiped off the board after their first activation. So I've been unimpressed with him in play. He's got cool traits and stuff, but nothing that other blue leaders and other leaders couldn't give you better. At least that's what I found. So D tier, dumpster tier for Chirrut for me. All right, Banana.
All right. What do we got here? Let's go with the Moff, the Grand Moff Tarkin, and I'm gonna say A tier. I think he's a really solid mid-range. He's got good Imperial synergy. He fixes your draws if you draw under curve. And his ability to put tokens on basically his whole deck because you're going to build him Imperial can really put units out of range out of a lot of removal options, right? A lot of thing is like 5 or less or 4 or less. So he can take your units that would die to removal and he can buff them out of that removal range, which really screws up your opponent's math too. So he screws with the math enough, and he has access to some cool things. So yeah.
Okay.
He stands here amidst my achievements, not his. Just wanted to.
Mr. Ben.
So I feel pretty strongly that the play should be, if Thrawn isn't S tier, then nobody should be S tier. But I kind of just want to play somebody instead because that's more fun. So we're going to pick up Han and we're going to drop him into B tier. I think he has a fun gimmick. I think it's a gimmick that when your hand lines up to feed his temporary ramp, his soft ramp, it can feel very explosive and very powerful. I think he's kept out of the higher tiers because there's a consistency issue. Because there are some games where he might as well be blank because your hand just doesn't line up to take advantage of his soft ramp.
Fair. All right. I am going to put... Let's get some easy ones over with. I'm going to put Sabine up here in the S tier. Sabine is our aggro queen for this set. If you're running an aggro deck, you probably want to run Sabine. Her ability to accelerate the game, the color she's in, everything about her synergizes with exactly what you want to be doing for an aggro player. And especially early in the meta, aggro is always really strong until we figure out how to play control. So I'm expecting to see a lot of success with players with Sabine in before the game has released meta, whatever we're calling that. We've seen Sabine played in every color, and people have found combinations that she likes. And that's, to me, the sign of a really, really strong leader that you can build decks around is that they're flexible and sort of have hooks that can play into all the different colors. So I'm putting Sabine in S tier. She also starts with S.
You did the aggro queen. Let's do the aggro princess, and we'll put Leia at A tier.
Top of A tier, please.
Yeah, top of A tier. I'm good with
There
that.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
She's very strong. Her ability to, it's not necessarily action cheating, but like action compression. She goes a little faster than she should. Yeah, she's just really solid.
I suppose if we're going to talk about the aggro champions for this first set meta, we might as well finish off with Boba Fett, who I think everything Dan said about Sabine, apply that to Boba Fett, except just slightly less so. He's a little bit less explosive. He requires a little bit more finesse, but I think he is also S tier, just slightly behind Sabine.
Fair. What we got? We got 4 characters left. I'm gonna put Luke in B tier here with our friends that are in B tier. I find Luke's ability is really cool. Shields are very strong, but his ability is super limiting. You have to play the shield on the heroism character that you played that turn. It kind of forces you to play off curve, which can be not super effective depending on how your opponent handles the shields. I like Vader's ability much better. It's a lot more versatile as to what you're going to do with it. I do think that they foil each other, kind of, but I feel like Luke falls far behind Vader with his ability. He flips in earlier, which is cool, but I just think that the ability is a bit more limiting. So we'll go to Banana. I know we're in that. Do you want to go for the end game, or do you want to fix it a little bit first? Right.
Let's move IG-88 down to D tier. Let's. Yeah.
My droid.
I think he is, without a doubt, the overall weakest leader in set 1. Just because he gets defeated by like a wet noodle once he's deployed. I think we're IG-88 possibly. So we're talking about set 1 constructed meta. If we were talking about like a Twin Suns format, I think IG-88 as one of your 2 leaders that's a cool play. You can get some more, mileage out of some of your stuff. But constructed, I think he's by far the least impressive leader of set 1.
Mr. Ban.
Okay. I am going to push Vader down to A tier. I don't think he's on the same level as the other aggro characters. I don't think he's better than Leia or Palpatine for that matter. I think he's low A tier in my opinion. He does have versatility, but everything he does, there is another more focused character. There's better control characters at control, and there's better aggro characters at aggro. And I think he's still going to see a ton of play because he's got the fanboys. But in terms of mechanics, I think he's low A tier.
We shall see. I am going to move Jyn Erso
I find your
up
lack
one
of
tier.
faith disturbing.
I find Jin's ability actually works really, really well with cunning. That -1 attack actually pays off more than I thought it would in the games I've played, because cunning has a lot of things that give your characters +1 attack or +2 attack and lets them perform an attack. So being able to sneak in 1 or 2 spots up curve with Jyn is really, really strong. And I've found that it trades pretty well. It works really well in limited, but it works okay in constructive. Okay enough to be on par with Hera, in my opinion. All right. 3 movements in a row.
Mm-hmm.
We're all in tiers, that means. Which tiers? We don't know.
Yeah. I'm going to make another move. I'm going to move Thrawn again, down another tier.
I see.
Same thing I said before applies. He's just too slow. He just needs more time. I can't. I'm sorry, Mr. Ben, but I can't.
Man, you can be wrong. It's okay.
He might be 2 steps ahead, but now he's 2 tiers down. So
I'm going to take Iden, and I was not impressed with this leader when she first came out. And a card has since been revealed that has turned me around on her, and I now put her at the bottom of A tier, and that card is Super Laser Blast. The fact that she can have these deploy turns where she then wipes the board, heals for a bunch, and kind of gets to restart in the late game, I think was the missing piece that really unlocked her having value. Without the big mass board wipe to be able to get those big healing turns, it kind of reminded me of Jyn in a way of like losing slowly. But now having that mid-game turn where she can kind of recover and stabilize, I think she's much stronger than I originally thought when she was first revealed.
All right. I am going to move... Oh, maybe no one. No. I'm going to move Han up a tier. I think I agree with what you said. You can definitely run into hands where Han's ability just doesn't help you. But that's typically if you've not built a very good Han deck. At least that's been my experience. With Han decks, you want to keep things so that his ability is always relevant for you. And if you do that, he can be a really, really strong play where he has this crazy board advantage compared to everyone else. So I think Han's ability is worth consideration into A tier. I find him on par with most of the characters in that tier, except for the ones that people move down rudely. So I'm placing him there. Banana.
I'm going to move Chirrut up. No one deserves to be as low as IG-88.
That is not true, but okay, whatever.
Also, if there is a Voltron leader in this set, it is Chirrut. With his ability to not die, you can load him up with a bunch of stuff, and a lot of decks currently that aren't running a lot of removal hate or upgrade hate. Mm-hmm. So you could like load him up with a bunch of upgrades and just swing for a bunch, and they gotta invest a lot of resources into removing him.
Into a boring bodyguard. No.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Ben.
As Thrawn moves from B back up to A tier, he let me look at the top card of Banana's deck, and it says "Get Good."
But then you didn't have any. Yeah. Okay. I going to disagree with Banana and put Mr. Krennic down here with IG-88. Above IG-88, the the experience I've had with this game so far, and again, this is all before cards have actually come out. Very limited number of plays against the same people at my store that we've been demoing with over and over again. I found that when control decks, which seems to be the top type of deck in the meta that I'm in right now, are playing, they tend to not leave characters on the board damaged. They just wipe the character out. And I feel like a lot of times Krennic's ability just becomes blank, and then he's a boring blue leader with a blank ability. We have plenty of those already, like Luke, so we don't need another one. D tier. And I only have 2.5 hours left till pre-release. I'm just kidding.
Cassian, I'm gonna trigger. Wait, do I want to trigger? If I trigger endgame, do I get to move somebody again, or no?
You get one more move. You get the last move then. It's your reward for triggering endgame.
Let's do it.
And Cassian, I already put them on the board.
Cassian C tier.
Starts with C.
Yeah, he's the third, fourth. He's like the fourth or fifth best hero aggro leader, and like the sixth best mid-range leader. He's kind of, his ability should be good, but his body, like when he deploys too late, and he's another one that his stats kind of suck for when he deploys compared to some other leaders. So he's not IG-88 bad, but C tier, bottom of C tier, right where Thrawn should be.
You got that one more move left. I know what's happening. All right, Mr. Ben.
Well, Thrawn is moving back up to S tier. That's what's happening.
Wow.
Of course.
That's your final move? All right. Well, I disagree with Cassian's evaluation. I'm moving him up to B tier with my final move. Card drawing is good. Even conditional card drawing that seems like it could be bad. Anytime you can draw cards, it gives you at least a reason to consider playing the leader. And how I categorize these is S's are like things that are always going to be competitive. A's are decks that can kind of sneak in there. B's are things worth considering. If you're like the most skilled player, you're the biggest fish in your small pond, and you're constantly like running people out of the game by beating them, maybe you should play a B tier character and you can still compete, but you'll get beat sometimes. So I think Cassian fits right in that row. And the final movement.
There's a lot of pressure.
You know you want to move Thrawn down. I know what you're thinking.
I want to, but I kind of just want to leave him now. I mean, I can't. Yeah.
All secrets will be revealed. Don't
worry. Thrawn to A. That's it. Final move.
Yes. Good job. All right. Well, that is the end of our tiers versus tiers segments. I'm going to feverishly do math during the next segment. And by that, I mean I made a spreadsheet, so I just have to put numbers into it. But basically, the way we score this, I probably should have told you this beforehand. I think I did in chat, is we're going to take our community tier list and compare them against each of the tier lists we put in that channel but didn't show each other. So for every rank off you are, you're going to earn a point. So if you had put Sabine in A tier, but she was in S, you would get 1 point. If you had put Hera in A tier, but she's in C, you would get 2 points. And it's golf score. You want the lowest score, meaning you were the closest to the community tier list. You had the most influence on our tiers or tiers tier list. So take a screenshot, everybody, because in about 5 to 10 minutes, we're going to find out who is the leader of our first tiers or tiers. Boom. Math.
Okay, so while that is being calculated, we're going to round out today's episode by kind of circling back to a topic that I touched on with the pre-release, and that is jumping from casual play into a more competitive environment. Now, pre-releases are probably the lowest tier of competitive environments. They're going to be the friendliest, the most welcoming, the lowest stakes, but it's still worth acknowledging that there is a difference in stakes, a difference in feeling than playing at your kitchen table or even casually around the store. So if somebody's looking at making that jump, Banana, what kind of advice would you have for someone in that position to get them from their kitchen table to their pre-release or even to their locals?
Reach out to some stores, see what nights people are meeting up to play, how many people, maybe ask if they have a Facebook group or a Discord you can join to start the conversation now. a lot of stores have their own Discord servers. A lot of stores have their own Facebook groups where you can start interacting with other peoples in the community already. So it's not such a as much of a jump when you just show up and don't know anybody. You've had some interactions with people online. It's like, oh, hey, I know you, and then you build that camaraderie, digitally before you do it in person. I think helps a lot for people. That's one I have. What about one for you that you have?
I think there's kind of a natural human inclination to not admit it when we don't know something, to try to just smile through and play it cool. And I think that's exactly the wrong impulse when you go into meeting new people situations, when you're maybe doing something that feels a little awkward. What, I need to sit here, I need to build my deck, and how much time? uh, I think it's much better plan to just go in and say, hey, I've never done this before. Some of my questions might sound stupid. I apologize in advance to all of you experienced people, but I'm just going to ask if I don't know something. And I have always found that sort of prefacing my stupid, my noob questions with that kind of disclaimer has had a very positive. People, oh, you're new. Well, here's why you should come back every week and play this card game with us. Most game communities want new people, and especially a new game. Like, we're all excited. I think everybody wants to evangelize about the new game. So instead of going in and playing it cool and acting like you've been there before, just tell people, hey, I haven't been here before. What do I need to know? And I think you'll have much better results, and probably you'll find the right people. The people who don't want to hold your hand will direct you to the people who do in those kinds of situations. And I think that's a much better approach.
Yeah, and another thing is there is a larger community, right? There's the community Facebook group and the community Discord. Those are also good places. While it's not your local scene, it's a good place to plug in and find resources and information that may help you on your journey, becoming a little
I think it's
youngling.
also worth bringing up the idea. Somebody I mentioned earlier, one of the concerns my son had was like building a bad or like a deck that was inviting of mockery. If that's something you're worried about, there exist guides for how to build better sealed decks. Like, even though this game is brand new, there's already people who are using Tabletop Simulator or have got their hands on pre-release kits early that are cracking packs, talking through it, explaining, hey, this is my thinking with it. Watch some of that stuff. Are your polls going to be exactly the same as some YouTube video? No, of course not. But listening to other people talk through why they made the choices they did, even if their play style doesn't resonate with yours, at least you have that level of analysis that you can perform. Oh, well, if you're a control guy, he's probably going to want to play this. I should be ready for these kinds of cards from the aggro players. And that's the kind of things you can be thinking about to sort of hedge your bets against making like the bad deck. And I think everybody should just give themselves permission to have a bad sealed deck. Like, sometimes the cards aren't going to line up. Sometimes you're going to read them wrong and not play that really good card that's just sitting in your sideboard the whole time. I have done this in a sealed event before. Oh, I thought, and that's all cool. Like, it's all good. We're all there to have fun.
Yeah, very low stakes. It's just to have fun, get some stuff early, make friends, make memories. And I don't think any sealed deck is really a great deck, right? They're all one or two ofs, and you don't have all the synergy you normally want when you're doing construct. That's what makes it fun. It's a crapshoot, right?
And you can always improve. So my favorite thing about sealed is to go in with like one thing I want to do better in this sealed event. So maybe it's my cost curve. I want to have this many 1 to 2s, this many 3 to 4s, this many 5 to 6s. If my packs even allow that, there's like a random factor in here you don't control. So you go in with that mindset of, oh, I'm going to try to make my cost curve a little bit better, because I remember last time I didn't have anything to play on turn 2 and 3 because I had a bunch of 1s and 2s and a bunch of 5s and 6s. So I got to have less 5s and 6 cost units. So each time a new set comes out, or if you go to multiple events this weekend, just be thinking about, oh, I want to do a little bit better by doing this. Also, remember your decks are a lot smaller, so you're going to see most of the cards in your deck. So that means if you include a bad card, you're probably going to see it. If you include a good card, you're probably going to see it. And the nicest thing about Star Wars Unlimited is you can always, resource that bad card, and nobody even has to know what was in your deck. So if you draw a card that you're like, how would I ever use this? Why was this here? You just put it face down. Nobody's going to know.
Oh, I forgot about the color penalty.
Yeah,
Resource.
so they say that in the guide, right? They say once you've picked your leader, or maybe divide your cards into colors and see which ones you have a nice curve of, because you're going to pick a leader and a base from the cards you opened. You're going to pair them together, and they said if you can build a 30-card deck out of just those colors that meets all the restrictions of not having too many events and not having too many high-cost characters, then you're going to have a pretty good time. So that's the easiest thing to remember. And also remember that people are going to be forgetting all night about the aspect penalty. It's a brand new game. So it's okay to remind people. It's okay to remind yourself. And, like, I know at least once at 1 a.m, I will, like, play a character and then be like, wait, I don't have enough money to pay for this character, and I'm going to put it right back in my hand and then be like, I pass. This sucks. And it's definitely going to happen because it's a new thing. I'm not used to it all the time. It's not in all the other games I play, and it's going to take time for me to get used to that habit. So if you catch yourself making a mistake, I know I do this very self-deprecating, like, it's totally okay to point it out because then it normalizes it and everybody feels like they can make mistakes, which should be allowed.
Mm-hmm. Another thing, too, is you don't stress if you don't get the base color you want to make your deck work, because the stores all have enough common bases for you to pick whatever base color you want. It's kind of like when you draft in Magic and they give you lands, right? So you don't have to worry about the base you pull. You can use whatever color you want. So pick the leader that works and go have fun.
This is probably pre-release. Well, this is pre-release specific, but I forgot to mention it earlier. But I do think looking at Luke and Vader as your leaders in this particular sealed event, you should maybe give it a second or third look, because this is going to be the pre-release is going to be the only time where you play sealed where Luke and Vader are in the pool, and it's going to be the only time where you're going to have 8 leaders in your pool. So this is going to be a little bit unique, a little bit more forgiving, because you know you've got aggression and vigilance right there, and both, well, Vader more than Luke, you have these leaders that you know that can perform well. And if you're really worried about having to build a deck under pressure, maybe study the 2 leaders that you know for sure you're going to get, and, well, familiarize yourself with Vader if your intent is to do well. Did anybody have any other thoughts about casual players trying to transition into competitive, or do we need to fill some more time before we reveal our tier list game results?
I got one last thing. One last thing you can do if you want to dip your toe into the, hey, I'm thinking about, playing a little more competitively, is there's a webcam league that's going to kick off March 12th.
Oh my gosh.
12th. And today, actually, so by the time signups close tonight, so this is going to stink. Well,
maybe we could extend signups until the end of pre-release weekend.
Okay.
Right?
So,
you could tell people at your pre-release,
pre-release
there's a cool
celebration
webcam league you could play.
Okay. So we'll do Monday night. Until Monday night. What's Monday night then? The 4th?
Someday in March. That's
the first Monday in March, whatever it is. I think it's the 4th. That's the last day.
Yes.
We'll extend signups for the Space Arena Ground Arena Season 1 Webcam League. Okay, you're going to play 8 rounds of Swiss. There'll be a top cut. I think it should last about 12 weeks. Each round lasts a week, so you have time to schedule your game with your opponent. Everybody has lives. Try to work out with them. And then we'll see how it goes, and maybe we'll do another one when Set 2 drops. Relying heavily on Mr. Ben's previous experience to get this thing going.
It's going to be great. We're going to have a great time.
As an incentive or bonus for you to think about the league, I made a joke about this on our last show that we should have bounty coins for this, but then I really liked the idea, so I went and made bounty coins for myself, and the sample comes next week, so hopefully in next week's show, unless it gets delayed, I'll be able to show it. But it's a bounty coin, so if you beat me in the league, at the end of the league season, I'll be mailing bounty coins to all my opponents that beat me. And we made one for actually each of our hosts. So mine will feature Sebulba, Bananas will feature Cad Bane, and Mr. Ben will feature Max Rebo. And those will be the characters on one side of the coin. On the other side, it will be a plan, a blast, and an initiative token for Twin Suns. So you can have this set of 3 poker chip tokens to use for your Twin Sun games if you take any one of us down in a bounty during the league. So I plan to lose a lot. That way I get to mail out a lot of coins. So as long as you have a competent deck, you'll do good.
I don't plan to lose a lot because I'm going to be playing Thrawn.
Same.
I actually was into the character, like, I mean, he's fine. Like but he's not one of my favorite like Star Wars characters. It's not a character that like lore wise I'm like crazy about. I just think those mechanics are excellent.
Knowledge is
Like
power.
I love looking at the top of your deck. Like that's so delicious to me.
So my last comment for transitioning from casual to competitive play is to find a group at your local scene, right? If your scene is pretty big, there might be a couple different groups of testing, but like the One Piece players by us, they all practice as a team. They travel to tournaments together and split rooms, and they're really good at like as the tournament's coming up, practicing and honing all their skills. So I highly recommend finding a group of people to play with, whether it's on a webcam league or at your local store, to grind out games and help yourself get better. Once you have a group of friends that are playing the game with you, that you can trust and that you like to talk with, they're going to be able to point out, oh, you could have done this better if you did this, and I could have done this better if I did this, and you all get better as a community. So find a team, even if it's not like an official team or anything like that. Find a group of friends that want to play the game with you, and you're all going to make each other better. Are we on to the math reveal? I did the math in a shocking turn of events. I guess I should share my screen so everybody can see the beautiful math I did. I'm an engineer. I do a lot of Excel. And no way. It couldn't be that. No, it's definitely that. In a shocking turn of events, we have a three-way tie at 10 points each. So we were all equally bad at strategy because we didn't know each other's favorite characters. Next time we do this, Banana and I will know to start Thrawn in the D tier so that Ben wastes a lot of turns increasing Thrawn's rank.
I mean, I've been pretty public about how I think he's really good.
It's
like
true.
That was not been a secret.
But you placed him in S before we had the chance, right? Or no, it was in the middle.
It was my first move, yeah.
So we didn't have a lot of variance, right? I was off by 1 on 10 different characters. Banana had 2 that he was off by 2 in, but he was off with less characters, and Mr. Ben had 1 where he was off by 2. So we were all pretty good to our community list. So as a team, we're doing pretty well. As we like get better at this, one of us might take away with the score, or we might all have groupthink and we might start getting like really low scores. So we'll see how it goes throughout the season of set 1, because the meta will evolve over time, and we'll see just how good we get at this little mini game.
Dude, I think we should
great job. We're all winners and all losers because we're all in first and last.
It's so funny that it's a three-way tie.
So what I think we should do, just for the fun of it, is I'll tweet out our individual tier lists and the community one, and then we'll just see what kind of reaction we get from the Twitter sphere or X sphere, whatever you call it.
They can tell me how wrong I am. I'm probably wrong. I'm 10 points wrong. I know that.
Yeah, we're all
Our community list is perfect. I'm pretty sure.
So I'm curious. Clearly, I had like a few that I was really hardcore on where I wanted them to be. Was there any leaders that you thought should have been way higher, were annoyed how low they got placed? Was there any like big outliers to your personal list, Banana?
My personal list? Ask him first. I gotta find my picture again.
All right, well, Dan?
Well, for me, so the furthest off I was with a leader was 1 rank. That was kind of my goal, was get everybody within 1 and my numbers will be kind of low, right? Nobody's severely off. I think Thrawn is an A tier. He was A tier in my list because I think he is very, very strong. I strongly think Vader is S tier. I think that Vader with green, or command, sorry, not colors, and Vader with vigilance are both 2 completely different decks, and they both dominate in completely different ways, mid-range and control. And when that Vader vigilance deck goes off, and every turn you just throw down a body that eliminates something else, or play an event that eliminates something else, and you get a ping, it's real painful and oppressive to play against. I don't know if it's fast enough to take down these aggro decks, but in the experience I've had, it's been pretty close. You have to kind of sideboard for the aggro deck, which makes sense, right? That's why sideboards exist. But if you include some of that in there, anticipating going into aggro, I think Vader can really compete. So I think by the end of the set 1, Vader will end up being like a tier above Thrawn.
So for me, I actually had Tarkin as B in my list, and I strategically put him in A, expecting someone to move him down 1. And then that ended up not happening.
Look at our great strategy here.
So I was going to say my biggest shock was Grand Moff Tarkin being an A, because I have him in C. I was like, I can't even believe that he's an A, but I was never given the opportunity to deal with your nonsense because you so aggressively attacked Thrawn.
I went for the right Imperial commander, okay? So, Yeah, I have Tarkin at B tier. I put him at A strategically, expecting him to get bumped at least once, and he never did. Yeah, that was it. That was the biggest change.
I think a lot of our tier lists are pretty similar because Banana kept placing things, and I would be like, "Dang straight, that's right where they are on my list. This is perfect. Don't move them, please."
Yeah,
So
I felt that way
it
several
kind of
times
evolves
too.
that way, right? It's the middling characters, right? The ones that aren't so polarizing, right? Everybody knows Sabine is good. Everybody knows IG-88 is real bad. So you're probably going to be ballpark in the right spot unless you do something crazy. But like the characters that are more questionable, right, that are in the middle, like people have different opinions on, and that's where it's tricky. Overall, we had a lot of. So we had 2 in the S tier, we had 7 in the A tier, 4 in B, 3 in C, and 2 in D. So we had a lot of A tier characters, and I think what happened there is a lot of us had different opinions of characters that were A and which ones were B, and we kind of all veered on getting our A's fixed, but not our B's fixed, and that led to a big A tier.
Yeah.
But we'll see what the community thinks. We might be full of garbage. Who knows?
Yeah, it is kind of funny how the spread looks different between the three of us. Like, Kennedy's are kind of loaded higher, mine are like, I have a lot more in C than both of you guys.
Yeah, I think I was like 25551 or something like that. Like I was.
Yeah.
My A, B, and C's are pretty even numbered. But
I like to have a few at the top. I have sympathy for those characters like Chewbacca, who truly belongs in A tier. Just you wait. That Chewbacca deck is going to be great.
Okay.
All right, so we'll move on to listener questions.
Okay.
So the first question from Bill Dozer in our Discord is: if you were to get multiple copies of any card during pre-release, what card would you want multiple copies of to help you win the games? And also, what legendary are you most excited to pull? So we'll go to Mr. Ben first.
So we don't know what colors my leader pool is going to be.
Nope.
But we're trying to pick cards that we want to be able to stack multiples of. So I feel like that makes me lean towards aggression and villainy because I know for sure I'm going to have a Darth Vader. So I'm thinking like Power of the Dark Side. That's a Dark Side card, right?
Yeah, blue.
Oh, okay. Well, that's less good. I love that card a great deal. What's that aggression event that's just deal 4 damage? Open Fire.
Open Fire.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Open Fire would probably be the removal that I would like to see like 4 copies of in my sealed deck. And as far as what legendary, I honestly haven't paid that much attention to card rarity. Is Thrawn a legendary?
Thrawn
no leaders are legendaries.
No, Thrawn's a rare leader. He's a rare leader, yeah.
I might have to get back to you on the legendary question.
Into
Pass
it.
to Dan for...
Dan, what card do you want multiple copies of, and what legendary leader do you want to pull?
I'm looking up the name of the card I'm thinking of. Let's
Super Laser Blast. Duh. Yes. 100% Super Laser Blast. That's the legendary I want the most.
That's a rare, right?
No, that's legendary.
No. I just looked it up. It's legendary.
Oh, it's legendary? Yeah. Okay. But the card I would want to get multiple copies of is Death Trooper. I think Death Trooper is super strong. It's a common. It comes into play. You deal 2 to it or to any unit to deal 2 to something else. So a lot of times you can get 2-for-1 trades out of it. So if you're playing one card and getting rid of 2 of your opponent's cards and sealed, when they don't have a lot of card draw inherent in their deck, that's really, really strong. As far as legendaries go, oh gosh. I'm gonna pass while you answer and I look up what legendary cards exist. Oh, Boba Fett. Yeah, Boba Fett's gonna be really strong. Legendary card. We'll go with him. Okay.
All right, so the card I would want to pull multiples of. I'm gonna go. So at the community event, I played in the sealed event. I played Leia. So I'm gonna go with the villainy thing. I want to play villain yellow this time. So waylay. I want multiple waylays, so I can just throw your stuff back to you. And the legendary that I did want was Darth Vader, but since I pulled one of them, I want Boba Fett or Super Laser Blast. Those are the two. Boba Fett, Super Laser Blast. Ben, did you come up with your legendary? Oh, you said Super Laser Blast.
Yeah, Super Laser Blast. 100%.
Kennedy Hawk asked, Self, what Lorcana and One Piece cards did you dump to fund? Okay, well.
I just sold a lot of cards to my store to pay for Star Wars Unlimited, so I'm eager for next Friday.
On Twitter, Max Tapera, where'd it go? I just had it. He asked us.
Hi, Max.
He wants to know if we think it's a better idea to try to buy the showcases around pre-release or wait to see if the market settles?
I don't think it's
We
a good
kinda
idea to
touched on this
spend money
earlier.
on showcases.
Oh.
That's my opinion. I mean, maybe they'll go up in value, maybe they'll go down in value. If you're playing a card game like stocks, to me, that typically doesn't work out. You want to sell things when they're high, right? We don't know anything about the print runs of this game, so it's impossible to speculate. Are they going to print this first set forever, and there's going to be so many showcases we all don't care, or are they going to be super rare forever? My opinion would be if you open a showcase and you can get good value out of it, if you're not like super obsessed with having the nicest looking card, by the end of when this game is out, all these leaders are going to be worth pennies, but the showcases are going to be worth a lot. And I'd rather play with a card that costs a penny, so if I break it, I can go buy a new one, than play with a really expensive one. So I would not invest in showcase leaders looking for any kind of return. That's my opinion. I could be wrong.
All right, so here's a question from me to the group. What is one or two showcase leaders that if you pulled them in your packs, you would keep and not flip? Because I have like 3 or 4 that if I pulled, I'm keeping. The rest are getting flipped.
So I mentioned eBay prices earlier, and they are preposterous for some of these. I don't think there's any leader, not even Thrawn, that if I could flip it for $700, that I wouldn't do that. But let's assume that these pre-release prices are speculative, and once the cards actually come out, they come down to a more reasonable price point. If keeping a showcase means I'm sort of not making $40, sure, I would do that. And in that case, Thrawn, Han, Chewie, Sabine, probably those are all ones that I think look pretty cool, and I would hang on to. Probably Boba Fett. I mean, they all look pretty dope, but like $40 is $40, man. I take Dan's point. I'd rather have lots of cheap cards and be able to make lots of different. I'm very much a game piece player.
Yeah.
So most of them I would probably sell, but if I could talk myself into it, I would keep Thrawn probably.
I would keep Sabine or Cassian. I really like aggression. I think that'll be the color I play for a long time. So those might, be cool cards to have. That being said, these are like 1 in every 12 boxes. So that's like 1 in every 2 cases. Now that we're talking about other games, but in Lorcana, right, these enchanted cards are 0 to 1 per case, sometimes 0 to 2. So they're a little bit more common than these. And pre-release prices, when like that game first came out at Gen Con, people were flipping those cards in the Indianapolis Convention Center for like $1,000. And now they're like, other than a couple of them, like that are super like sought after, they're like $100. So if you opened one back then and you sold it, you could go buy 10 right now. So I would rather count on something like that than not sell it when I could, fund Star Wars Unlimited habits for a long time and then find out later that the price dropped and I should have funded my Star Wars Unlimited habits. Because they can be expensive. Star Wars Unlimited habits. I say going to 2 pre-releases this weekend.
And 1 in just like 2 hours.
2 hours and 7 minutes. There's a little timer over here in my computer. It's going to let me know if we go too long.
Yeah. That was it for listener questions.
Well, how about you, Banana? What is the leader variant that you would want to hang on to?
So I have 3. I think I started at like 5 and I talked myself down to 3. It would be Sabine, Boba Fett, and Grand Inquisitor. Those are the
if you get one of those, you can probably, tempt Banana pretty hard.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't.
Yeah, I am hoping that the prices become a little... I mean, hey, anybody who cracks packs and pulls one, I hope you get top dollar when you go to flip it. But I think I saw one card, $600 for a game that hasn't even officially come out yet. Like, that seems just nonsense to me. That seems unsustainable.
Stores busting open cases to sell singles. That's,
I mean, hey, I hope the stores that are doing that make money. Like, I know we just came through the COVID years, and a lot of local game stores died during that time. So I'm happy to see the stores get a cash cow like Lorcana. If Star Wars Unlimited can operate in that way for local game stores, I am all for it. But I'm not buying hyperspace variants at these prices. No way, man. You could get a case of cards for that kind of money. Like, nah.
That's the plan, right? Flip it, buy another case.
That would 100% be me. Yeah.
Me
Even
too.
if it's Thrawn, probably.
Of set 2. For set 2. right? Gotta start thinking now. Right? Who knows what's gonna happen when we get the Mandalorian and Moff Gideon starters in our hands? Don't even. Well,
Yeah.
All right, before we wrap it up. We know those are the starters for set 2. I know set 1's not even out yet, but just real quick, what are your thoughts on what their aspects are going to be for those 2 leaders, Moff Gideon and the Mandalorian?
Mando and Gideon?
Yeah.
Aggression and cunning. For Mandalorian, aggression, Gideon, cunning.
Dan?
We're going to get command for Gideon and cunning for Mandalorian, because those are the 2 colors we don't have in a starter deck currently. Then between the 2 starter decks, you can get a deck with all the colors as the leader.
That's a good point.
Cool. You guys have
what are
anything
your
else?
thoughts, man?
I
Do you
think
have a prediction?
do I have a prediction? I think I'm on board with what did you say, Dan?
Cunning for the Mandalorian and command for Gideon. That seems to be the general.
You seem really committed to your position.
I think I agree with what Dan said. I think it'll be the 2 that are different from, because we got Vader and Luke, right, which are vigilance, aggression. So I think we'll get the other 2 this time around. Next time around. It's not even this time yet.
That logic tracks for sure.
You guys have anything else before we wrap it up?
I think that's it for this week. I'm excited to see everybody's polls and to see how pre-release weekend goes and then release weekend. It should be an exciting time.
You guys have a midnight release for release week?
They do not for release week.
What?
You can just pick your pre-orders up when the store opens the next day. They do stuff like this for like pre-release events, like when a new Lorcana set comes out, they'll do like a midnight starter deck battle, and every game you win, they give you 2 free packs that you can like mix into your deck. So then by the end of the night, the players that have won like 3 rounds in a row have these like crazy decks that they've added all these packs to, and they're like super dueling it out. But for this one, they said they're just going to divide the packs evenly among all the players, which is good.
Mr. Ben, his store's probably doing like a SWU after dark, bring your whiskey and...
Well, I will not be drinking at our event. Yes, our store does host events with adult beverages, but I have a jiu-jitsu tournament on Saturday, so I am off the sauce at the current moment. But Saturday night, maybe. We'll see how beat up I feel. But at my pre-release, at least, it's going to be water only.
All right, you want to wind us down?
All right. Well, I'll see you in the arena.